Join me as I dive into the tricky world of impossible decisions and try to make the hardest choice I can find. We've all been there at some point or another, stuck in a situation where every option seems equally appealing or equally terrible, and we just can't seem to make up our minds. It's like trying to choose between two loves, or deciding which of your two favorite hobbies to pursue full time. These impossible decisions can be really frustrating, but what's even more interesting is the psychology behind them. How do we make choices when we're faced with conflicting values or outcomes? That's what we're going to explore today. When we're faced with an impossible decision, it's like our brains go into overdrive. We start weighing the pros and cons of each option, trying to make sense of the contradictory emotions swirling around inside us. But the more we think about it, the more overwhelming it becomes, and we're left feeling stuck. This is where decision paralysis sets in. We're so afraid of making the wrong choice that we end up making no choice at all. It's like being trapped in a never-ending cycle of indecision. In many cases, impossible decisions involve choices that transcend rational thinking. It's not just about weighing the pros and cons. It's about our values, our emotions, our sense of identity. Should I pursue a career that's stable but unfulfilling, or risk it all to chase my passion? It's not just about the outcome. It's about who I am as a person. This is where the wheels start to come off, and we find ourselves torn between competing desires. One of the biggest challenges we face when making impossible decisions is that we're often trying to reconcile conflicting goals. Do I prioritize my career or my relationships? Do I choose the life that's safe but unexciting, or the one that's thrilling but uncertain? These are the kinds of questions that can keep us up at night, and the more we think about them, the more muddled our thinking becomes. Our brains are wired to avoid loss, so when we're faced with an impossible decision, we often focus on what we'll lose rather than what we'll gain. This is known as loss aversion, and it's a powerful psychological force. But there's another factor at play here too, the role of emotions. When we're making a difficult decision, our emotions can be our biggest ally or our worst enemy. On the one hand, they can give us valuable insights into what we truly desire. On the other, they can cloud our judgment and make us more prone to impulsive decisions. One of the most interesting areas of research in this field is the concept of cognitive biases. These are mental shortcuts we use to simplify complex problems, but they can often lead us astray. For example, the sunk cost fallacy. When we continue to invest time, money, or energy into something simply because we've already sunk so much into it, or the availability heuristic, when we overestimate the importance of a particular option because it's the one that's most readily available to us. These biases can profoundly affect the choices we make, often without us even realizing it. Another key factor is the role of stress on decision-making. When we're under pressure, our brains operate differently. We become more impulsive, more reactive, and more prone to making mistakes. This is because our stress response activates the fight-or-flight response, which is designed for immediate survival, not thoughtful deliberation. So the next time you're faced with an impossible decision, take a deep breath and try to calm down. Your brain and your decision will thank you. I remember a story about a woman named Sophie who was forced to make an impossible decision during World War II. She was arrested by the Nazis and sent to a concentration camp, along with her 2 children. One day, the guards told her she had to choose which of her children would be sent to the gas chamber and which would be spared. This is the ultimate impossible decision, and it's a choice no parent should ever have to make. Sophie's story is a powerful reminder of the struggle we face when we're forced to make choices that go against our deepest values and desires. One of the most profound insights I've gained from exploring impossible decisions is that there's no one right way to make a choice. Sometimes the best decision is the one that aligns with our values and goals, even if it's not the most expedient or convenient one. Sometimes it's the choice that scares us the most, that pushes us out of our comfort zone, that forces us to grow as individuals. The key is to understand our own psychology, to recognize our biases and emotional influences, and to make choices that reflect our true selves. So, to sum it all up, making impossible decisions is never easy, but by understanding the psychology behind them, we can learn to make better choices. We can learn to navigate the treacherous waters of conflicting values and outcomes, and emerge stronger and wiser on the other side. Thanks for watching, and I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever faced an impossible decision in your life? How did you handle it? Share your stories in the comments below and be sure to check out our next video on the psychology of risk-taking.